O'Connell. David, everyone's got a lot at stake right now, and again, it's tough for me to fathom North Korea blinking too much, because this is what they export. This is how they flex their muscle. And for someone who's a third-generation dictator to say, hey, just be a regular citizen of the world when you have nothing else to offer, I'm not sure it's going to work.
I agree with you. You know, the main leverage that North Korea has, unfortunately, is its nuclear weapons program. The conversation you just had was really fascinating, especially with respect to focusing on China and whether China really can play a leadership role in resolving this crisis. And we heard very strong words from the Chinese president. He rebuked both North Korea and the U.S. But he also seems to be saying, I will play a role in this. China will play a role in this in trying to resolve this dispute. That's really absolutely crucial and necessary. China really may be the only country in a position to stop what looks to be a confrontation between the U.S. and North Korea, where there will be a lot of losers.
David,
of course, we'll ultimately win.
David,
yes.
I gotta stop you right there. I do agree with you that it's China that can make this happen, but what people have to understand, what President Trump is doing is absolutely right and probably should have been done 20 years ago by President Bill Clinton. Basically, North Korea is months away from fitting a nuclear warhead on an ICBM, and right now China has a population problem of its own where people are moving from the countryside into the cities, and what they don't want to see is 25 million North Korean refugees going into China. So essentially, this is the right time, because now it is in China's interest. And what Donald Trump is doing is not to provoke North Korea per se, because the USS Carl Vinson is there for strategic purposes, but sending Mike Pence to South Korea and making all these moves, including with Afghanistan and the missile strikes in Syria, is about telling the Chinese, we're serious. You cannot take your foot off the pedal, because it's you alone who can do this.
Well, I don't know why you're yelling, because I pretty much agree with most of those points. I don't really agree with your attitude towards it.
That's not his attitude. Ford likes to talk loud, but I want to get back to Captain Ash for a moment. He's passionate, but let me bring back in Captain Ash, because here's the thing. And you brought up the man-made islands that have been militarized. Yeah. We know that China, Captain Ash, has these enormous plans, if not for global domination, certainly for Asian domination. And part of that is the oil that they see in the South China Sea. They want it, they've claimed it, and I think they're going to snatch it no matter what. So do they build up brownie points of sorts if we have something averted this weekend? And do they build up enough points that we don't come back to them and say, okay, now it's time to dismantle those islands?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen here is there's some kind of a comprehensive thing going on between President Trump and President Xi Jinping. They've talked twice since their meeting at Mar-a-Lago. Now, they're probably not just catching up on how was your trip home. There are things going on here behind the scenes, and they're happening at the very highest levels, president to president. And I think part of this is an understanding that the United States will come to some accommodation with China, but we together, both countries, have to solve this issue. The United States has a tremendous amount at stake here, as do the Chinese. And right now, the thorn in both of our sides is that guy in North Korea. And this has to get solved, because I am certain that President Trump has backed up his statement that if you can't fix this, we will. And I think the Chinese are taking that very seriously.
David, in Syria, we're asking Russia to help us with regime change. Do you think it's a similar request is being made now? Because, again, getting back to the main key here is the unpredictability, the predictable unpredictability of Kim Jong-un.
Well, in Syria, obviously, it would be great if Russia supported regime change, but I don't think that's going to happen. Russia's been pretty clear that they back Assad no matter what, unfortunately. With respect to North Korea, regime change would be great, too. That should be everybody's goal. But I don't think that's exactly China's goal. I think China's goal to avert this crisis, its potential offer to provide security assurances to North Korea, that might be enough. I don't think China's pushing for the leader of North Korea to step down and for regime change, although it would be great if ultimately China helped us push for that.
For it?
President Trump is definitely pushing for regime change. Obviously, at the very least, he wants denuclearization. Understand that North Korea is a country of 25 million people with a GDP of 16 billion. Basically, they're going to saber rattle no matter what. We just don't want them to saber rattle with a big stick, and that means a nuclear weapon on an ICBM, and that's what you got to stop.
All right, guys. Well, it is Saturday. It is the day of the sun in North Korea, and we will know a lot more over the next 24 hours. So it's going to be a tense situation. Gentlemen, thank you.